This is how to do the review sheet for our test that will be tomorrow. On number 1, a diver dove off a cliff to a depth of 18 feet underwater, then he went up 9 feet. We need to come up with 2 different ways to represent that calculation. The first one, a depth of 18, is negative 18, and then he went up 9 feet, so we're going to add 9. The second way to represent that, we know that adding is the same as subtracting a negative. Although it's not as likely, we could say he did not go down 9 feet, so we could represent it negative 18 minus negative 9. Either one of those calculations that we do, his ending depth is going to be negative 9 feet. We need to make sure we put units. There will not be a reminder on tomorrow's test, so don't forget about that. As far as your explanation, you can do exactly what I just said. The negative 18 comes from the 18 feet underwater. Going up 9 feet represents the positive 9, and when you add them, you get his overall position at negative 9 feet. Okay, part 2, we have a lot of expressions that we need to simplify. For number 1, we need to start by getting common denominators. So I'm going to rewrite this. First one stays the same. The second one, I'm going to change 1/4 into 2/8 because 1/4 is equal to 2/8. I'm just multiplying numerator and denominator by 2. Now I need to change them into improper fractions. So I'm going to do 7 times 8, which is 56, plus 3 is 59. So I'm going to rewrite it as negative 59/8 plus 8 times 6 is 48 plus 2 is 50. So negative 59 plus 50 is negative 9. Denominator stays the same, and then we rewrite it as a mixed number. Number 2, we need to follow order of operations. So we're going to do the parentheses first. Negative 5 plus 1 and 2500ths. I can set this up as a subtraction problem. When adding and subtracting, your decimal comes straight down. Because the 5 is negative, I have more negative than positive, so I'm going to get negative 3 and 7500ths. Okay, I can move my work out of the way and bring all of the other terms down. Okay, next piece I need to multiply. So off here on the side, I'm going to do 3 and 7500ths multiplied by 3. I know it's negative, but I'll go back and worry about that later. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 7 is 21. Plus 1 is 22. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 2 is 11. Now my decimal point is over 2 spots here and no spots here. So I'm going to move it over 1, 2 spots to make this 11 and 2500ths. And in my last step, I'm just going to add those together. For me, I'm going to change this into negative 2 and 5/10. And again, they have different signs, so I'm just going to subtract them. Fill in a 0 there. Decimal comes straight down. And because we have more positive than negative, my final answer is positive 8 and 7500ths. Okay, part C, I am subtracting, so I'm going to use my subtraction trick to rewrite this equation. And I'm going to use keep, add, opposite. So that's going to change this into 5 and 2/10 plus 1 and 6/10. And then I can just add, line them up if you need to. And we're going to get 6 and 8/10 as our final answer on part C. Part D, I need to multiply those. I'm going to set them up vertically. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, then I'm going to put a placeholder 0. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 1 is 21. Add them up. And then for the decimal point, I have one spot here, one spot here. So I'm going to move it over a total of 2 places. 1, 2. It's going to give me a final answer of 22 and 36 hundredths. The last part is to make sure I have the right symbol or the right sign. A negative multiplied by a negative is a positive, so I can leave it as positive. Okay, part E. Again, we need to follow order of operations. So we're going to do the numerator first. I'm going to change this so that it's 2 and 25 hundredths minus 8.5, or 8 and 5 tenths, all divided by 3. Okay, 2 and 25 hundredths and 8 and 5 tenths have different signs, so I'm going to subtract them. Bring my decimal down. I have more negative than positive, so I'm going to make sure I write my answer as negative 6 and 25 hundredths, all divided by 3. Now I'm going to work out the division part of that. Top dog goes in the doghouse. Bottom dog has to sleep outside. Okay, the decimal point right here is going to move directly above, and then we're going to divide it just like normal. 3 goes into 6 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. Bring down the 2. 3 will not go into 2, so we'll put a 0 there. 3 will go into 25 8 times. And then when we subtract, we get 1 left over. I'm going to bring that bottom part over here so you can see it. Okay, we have another 0 to bring down, so 3 goes into 10 3 times. We're going to get 1 left over, and then it's going to start repeating just on the 3. So we get 2.083 with just the 3 repeating. Okay, part F, I'm going to change both of these into improper fractions. So 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. All I'm doing is changing them into improper right now. 10 times 2 is 20, plus 9 is 29, so negative 29 tenths. Okay, when I am dividing, I do not need to worry about getting common denominators, so I'm just going to keep the first one and multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to flip the second one over, and it's still negative. All right, before I do this, I'm going to simplify these numbers a little bit. 10 fifths can simplify into 2 over 1. And then I can just multiply straight across. 17 times 2 is 34. 1 times 29 is 29. A positive multiplied by a negative is a negative. And then 34 divided by 29, I'm going to get 1 whole with 5 29ths left over, and it's still negative. So negative 1 and 5 29ths. Okay, number 3 is a multi-step problem. What might help here, you don't have to do it this way, but what might help is to just make up some numbers for A and B. So based on the number line, A looks like it could be about 2. I know it's probably a little bit less than 2, but I'm just estimating so I can find out if it's positive or negative. And B is about negative 3. So I'm going to use those two numbers to help me answer all the questions. Okay, part A, I'm going to do A plus B. 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. So my answer is negative. And then for the explanation, I'm not going to write everything. I'm just going to talk about it. We have more negatives than positive, or there's a greater absolute value for B than there is for A. So the number that has the greater absolute value is the one that tells us if it's positive or negative when we're adding. So again, make sure on part A you say something about the number with the greater absolute value. Okay, part B, A is still 2 minus B is negative 3. Okay, we're going to rewrite this using keep, add, opposite, which is going to give us positive 5. So that one is easy. Positive. And then for the explanation, you want to talk about how you can rewrite the problem as an addition problem using keep, add, opposite. Okay, letter C, we're still going to use those same values of -3 and 2. B minus A, -3 minus 2. If you want to use keep, add, opposite, since we're subtracting, okay, if we have negative and we either take some more away or we add some more negative, both of these are going to give us -5. And then for your explanation, you can say that same thing. If you start negative and then continue left on the number line, you're still going to get a negative number. Okay, part D, we're going to multiply these together. 2 times -3 minus 1. Follow order of operations. And -6 minus 1 is going to give us -7. So that's a negative number. The explanation's a little bit similar to part C, except this time we're also going to talk about a positive times a negative is a negative. And then on part D, we're just dividing a positive number divided by a negative number. I'm going to get -2/3 for that, or -0.666 repeating. Anytime you have a positive divided by a negative, you get a negative. And your explanation, just talk about the rule of what happens when you have one of each. Okay, number 4, use the number line to demonstrate how to find the difference 3 minus 9. So I'm just going to start by, I'll put 0 here, 1, 2, 3. Get some equal spacings on there. Remember, integer man, he always is going to go to your first number first, so he's going to go 3 units to the right, and then he's going to go 9 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And he's going to end up right here. Draw an arrow to show which direction I went. Now I just need to figure out what number that is. So I've got -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6 is my answer. So 3 minus 9 is -6. Don't forget I could do keep, add, opposite, and I'm still going to get -6 for my answer.